I don't know why we are here, but I'm pretty sure that it is not in order to enjoy ourselves. Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. Hell is in other people. Hell is yourself. The real question of life after death isn't whether or not it exists, but even if it does, what problem this really solves. Nothing is so difficult as not deceiving oneself. If people never did silly things, nothing intelligent would ever get done. Only describe, don't explain. If we take eternity to mean not infinite temporal duration but timelessness, then eternal life belongs to those who live in the present. Don't, for heaven's sake, be afraid of talking nonsense. But you must pay attention to your nonsense. A man will be imprisoned in a room with a door that's unlocked and opens inwards, as long as it does not occur to him to pull rather than push. Not how the world is, but that it is the mystery. The problems are solved, not by giving new information, but by arranging what we have known since long. Never stay up on the barren heights of cleverness, but come down into the green valleys of silliness. How small a thought it takes to fill a life. Philosophy is a battle against the bewitchment of our intelligence by means of language. We are asleep. Our life is a dream. But we wake up sometimes, just enough to know that we are dreaming. I act with complete certainty. But this certainty is my own. We feel that even if all possible scientific questions be answered, the problems of life have still not been touched at all. To imagine a language is to imagine a form of life. What can be shown, cannot be said. The world of the happy is quite different from that of the unhappy. If there were a verb meaning to believe falsely, it would not have any significant first person, present indicative. If in life we are surrounded by death, then in the health of our intellect we are surrounded by madness. An honest religious thinker is like a tightrope walker. He almost looks as though he were walking on nothing but air. His support is the slenderest imaginable. And yet it really is possible to walk on it. For an answer which cannot be expressed, the question too cannot be expressed. The riddle does not exist. If a question can be put at all, then it can also be answered. At the core of all well-founded belief lies belief that is unfounded. What is troubling us is the tendency to believe that the mind is like a little man within. Sometimes, in doing philosophy, one just wants to utter an inarticulate sound. Logic takes care of itself, all we have to do is to look and see how it does it. The mystical is not how the world is, but that it is. When you are philosophizing, you have to descend into primeval chaos and feel at home there. The eternal life is given to those who live in the present. If you tried to doubt everything, you would not get as far as doubting anything. The game of doubting itself presupposes certainty. The philosopher is not a citizen of any community of ideas, that is what makes him a philosopher. I sit astride life like a bad rider on a horse. I only owe it to the horse's good nature that I am not thrown off at this very moment. This sort of thing has got to be stopped. Bad philosophers are like slum landlords. It's my job to put them out of business. I give no sources, because it is indifferent to me whether what I have thought has already been thought before me by another. You can't think decently if you're not willing to hurt yourself. A picture held us captive. And we could not get outside it, for it lay in our language and language seemed to repeat it to us inexorably. Our greatest stupidities may be very wise. This is how philosophers should salute each other: take your time. If I have exhausted the justifications, I have reached bedrock and my spade is turned. Then I am inclined to say, this is simply what I do. Knowledge is in the end based on acknowledgement. The face is the soul of the body. Everything that can be thought at all can be thought clearly. Everything that can be said clearly. A tautology's truth is certain, a proposition's possible, a contradiction's impossible. It's impossible for me to say one word about all that music has meant to me in my life. How, then, can I hope to be understood? The world is everything that is the case. Language is a part of our organism and no less complicated than it. Suppose someone were to say, imagine this butterfly exactly as it is, but ugly instead of beautiful. Tell them I've had a wonderful life. Just improve yourself, that is the only thing you can do to better the world. Our life is endless in the way that our visual field is without limit. I am not interested in constructing a building, so much as in having a perspicuous view of the foundations of possible buildings. It is not humanly possible to gather immediately from it what the logic of language is. Language disguises thought. I think I summed up my attitude to philosophy when I said, philosophy ought really to be written only as a poetic composition. Belief in the causal nexus is superstition. Most of the propositions and questions to be found in philosophical works are not false but nonsensical. Nothing is more important for teaching us to understand the concepts we have than to construct fictitious ones. In the world everything is as it is and happens as it does happen. In it, there is no value, and if there were, it would be of no value. Always come down from the barren heights of cleverness into the green valleys of folly. We are struggling with language. We are engaged in a struggle with language. Where two principles really do meet which cannot be reconciled with one another, then each man declares the other a fool and a heretic. What stands fast does so, not because it is intrinsically obvious or convincing, it is rather held fast by what lies around it. Concerning that which cannot be talked about, we should not say anything. People nowadays think that scientists exist to instruct them, poets, musicians, etc. to give them pleasure. The idea that these have something to teach them, that does not occur to them. Christianity is not a doctrine, a theory about what has happened and will happen to the human soul, but a description of something that actually takes place in human life. So in the end, when one is doing philosophy, one gets to the point where one would like just to emit an inarticulate sound. Most of the propositions and questions to be found in philosophical works are not false but nonsensical.